Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Liu, welcome. India and America, I believe, are natural friends and natural allies. India is the world's largest democracy. We share values. Under President Trump, our countries moved together significantly. We saw a significant closening of the relations between the two countries. I traveled to India in 2019. I had the privilege of welcoming Prime Minister Modi to Texas, to my hometown of Houston, when he came to the United States. In the past year, under the Biden administration, relations with India have worsened significantly, as was manifested, among other things, in their latest abstention at the United Nations on the issue of Russia and Ukraine. Assistant Secretary Liu, why is that? What mistakes has the Biden administration made to cause the relationship between our nation and the nation of India to deteriorate over the last 14 months?
Thank you, Senator Cruz. I will acknowledge that India and the United States have not voted the same at the United Nations over this past week. I assure you that we continue to have an important dialogue with India at the highest levels to try to narrow that gap and to help India to see the importance that we place on a coordinated message to Moscow. Let me say, though, that in our outreach to India, we have not failed to try to leverage India's relationship with Russia to try to call for a Russian withdrawal and a ceasefire. That in the days immediately following the Russian invasion, we have been in touch with Indian leaders, and Prime Minister Modi called both President Putin and President Zelensky to call for an end to the fighting. In addition, we are asking for India to do more. And as I mentioned—
Well, Mr. Liu, the problem is, I recognize you're asking them to do more, but the relationship keeps getting worse. And one of the aspects that has driven that, India is a critical part of the security architecture that coalesced during the Trump administration against China. Countering China's aggressive behavior requires viable partners in Asia and beyond, and the U.S.-India relationship is a cornerstone of our multilateral efforts. As you know, and as we've discussed, our efforts to counter China were institutionalized in recent years in the Quad framework. But under the Biden administration, the security dimensions of the Quad have been significantly deprioritized in favor of other priorities such as climate change and developmental assistance. Meetings in March and in September emphasized those issues at the expense of countering China. The Quad statement from March emphasized climate change, but didn't even mention China. Candidly, I'm worried that about these moves, and I've also heard from regional partners that they're also worried about these moves. Why has the Biden administration shifted the focus of the Quad to issues like climate and away from vital national security interest, and in particular, why has the Biden administration pivoted the Quad away from countering communist China?
Senator, one thing I will agree about your statement is that one of the key ways that we will help our Indian partners to become more aligned with the world's position towards condemning Russia's actions in Ukraine is by making sure we continue to talk about the Russia-China nexus. This is critical in terms of India's interests. It's critical in terms of our interests. I completely agree that part of the answer here is that India understand what's happening in Ukraine will affect
Mr.
China's
Liu,
behavior.
you're a talented diplomat, and so you know that you're not answering the question I asked.
And I look forward to answering that question. So I was at the Quad Ministerial in Melbourne. I saw our cooperation on defense and security. That includes serious discussion and an action plan on growing interoperability, on intelligence sharing, discussion of the sale of advanced U.S. defense technology, complex multi-service exercises between our militaries, including now our Quad partners of Japan and Australia.
So Mr. Liu, let me try one more time. Why has the Biden administration significantly deprioritized countering communist China in the Quad?
I sat in on every session of the Quad discussions, and in every session of those discussions, we, together with our 3 Quad partners, were talking about countering China. We were talking about countering China with security and defense activities. We were also talking about countering China with COVID vaccines, as we know that this is part of China's reach into the Indo-Pacific. So I take exception to that statement. That is not what I witnessed in Melbourne.
Well, it's what the public record indicates, and I will say your efforts with respect to India, they are not working, and they are harming America's relationship with India to the detriment of both countries.
Thank you, Senator.